what's the problem about corruption? Why is this an issue? What is the evidence around the world and in the Czech Republic about the costs of corruption? Are we different from other countries around the world here in the Czech Republic? What are some lessons or some inspirations that you might draw from other countries around the world? Let me go over some of the evidence for you quickly. First, econometric studies, including a study by me, show that around the world, other things equal, meaning after we control for all the factors that affect investment, more corruption leads to less investment, and each dollar or crown of additional investment generates less jobs, fewer jobs, and less development. Let me show you some good news about the Czech Republic. First question, local research and training. Of 139 countries around the world, you're number 17, which is very good. Look at the company you keep. You're equal to Hong Kong and Iceland, which are innovation powerhouses, and you're better than Singapore, Luxembourg, and Israel. How about some bad news about the Czech Republic from the same surveys and some other evidence? Let's look at the institutions of the Czech government. Remember I mentioned those 12 pillars that they use in the Global Competitiveness Index, where the first one is about the institutions of government. And look at some of the data here from the Global Competitiveness Index. 139 countries, diversion of public funds. You're number 102. You're equal to Armenia and Zimbabwe from A to Z. You're worse than Senegal and Kazakhstan. Public trust of politicians, number 121 of 139 countries in the world. Equal to Chad, Mongolia, and Burundi. Worse than Zimbabwe and Bangladesh. My wife, who's from South Africa, said, I didn't think anything was worse than Zimbabwe. Wastefulness of public spending, number 96 in the world. Equal to Mali and Turkey. Worse than Burkina Faso and Zambia. They're beating you in Burkina Faso. I don't even know where Burkina Faso is, do you? But they're beating you. Favoritism in decisions of government officials, number 107 in the world. Equal to Mauritania and Russia. That's not good company. Worse than Chad, Guyana, and East Timor. Transparency in government policymaking until this law goes into effect. Number 102 in the world. Equal to Tajikistan and Ethiopia. Worse than the Kyrgyz Republic and Swaziland. Maybe we should have a technical mission come from Swaziland to help us improve. What do you think? We'll invite the Swazis to come and help us improve transparency. Irregular payments and bribes, number 67 in the world. Equal to Albania and Iran. Worse than Malawi and Peru. You're getting the idea. Ethical behavior of firms. It's not just the government, by the way. This is always a two-part tango here. Somebody's giving the bribes and someone's getting the ethics of firms, 90 in the world, equal to Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and Kazakhstan. Worse than Cambodia, Syria, and Guatemala. That's shocking. Other evidence, Transparency International, you know its work, but you may not know they also have a thing called the Bribe Payers Index, where they interview people in countries about bribe paying. It's a smaller survey. It's got about 36 countries. Here's one question they ask. How would you assess the actions of the government in this country in the fight against corruption? This is 2008. 87% in Czech Republic said very ineffective or effective. Among 26 countries, only 3 countries in the world had worse answers than you on this. And they're Philippines, Argentina, and Pakistan. You were worse on this particular answer than Indonesia, Senegal, and look at the last one, Nigeria, which is one of the most corrupt places in the world. Let me show you some inspiration from other countries around the world, because I find that when I talk about this issue in many countries, I don't know your country, but in many countries you get this reaction. Oh, it's a terrible problem. But what can you do? The people are this way. The culture is this way. The value system is this way. Our history is this way. Or we've had too much communism or not enough communism. Or too much Islam or not enough Islam. Or too much socialism or not enough socialism. Or too much something. But it's not our fault. We can't do anything about it. It's inevitable. All we can do is wait for 100 years of change to happen. Where there'll be a cambio de mentalidad. There'll be a change of mentality. I hear that word quite a bit. As if that's going to happen by some sort of transcendental visitation of an anti-corruption spirit among the people. And yet what I've learned from studying this and being part of this is there are many success stories of cities, ministries, and countries reducing corruption. Never eliminating corruption, but reducing corruption. And I want to share with you quickly some of the headings of success. What are the things they do? And I hope they fit with the strategy that your government is following and that your business community is following. So let's take a look at inspiration from other countries. First of all, let's take a look at these three words: structures, leadership, and incentives. I have a book I wrote a few years ago called High Performance Government. High Performance Government. And the subtitle is Structures, Leadership, Incentives. Now, what do I mean by that here? By structures, I mean to notice that corruption is an economic crime. It is not a crime of passion or revenge. It's a problem of calculation. I'm trying to decide if I should pay you a bribe. I've got some risks. I've got some rewards. I've got some penalties. And you're trying to decide if you should take the bribe. You also have a risk-reward calculation. What do those risks and rewards depend upon? To the legalistic mind, it's all a question of punishments. And that's partly true. But to the economist, it's this formula. Corruption equals monopoly plus discretion minus accountability. So whether you're in California, where I'm from, or in the Czech Republic, and someone has monopoly over a good or service that you want, has discretion to decide how much you get, or whether you get any at all, and there's no accountability to say what he or she decides, you have the recipe for corruption. That person may not do it, may be very honest, as you and I would be, but that's a structure that invites corruption. And therefore, the structural solutions to corruption must take this formula into account. How can we reduce monopoly power? How can we limit and clarify discretion through the manuals that the minister talked about to the citizen to show them not only how you report it, but what are the rules here? So the discretion of the official is not absolute. And how do we enhance accountability? What are the many ways we can increase transparency? Reduce monopoly power, limit discretion, increase accountability. What about the leadership side? You see this picture here. My wife said, "How come you've got the shark eating a woman?" I said, "I don't know, it just happened that way." Maybe it's more alluring if you see the shark eating woman. But you know what that shark represents? The shark represents what many leaders in countries I work in are like. They're big fish who are immune from prosecution. And therefore there is the principle of the big fish. And here's the principle. If you're in a society where corruption has become a norm, I'm not saying you are, if you come with me to Cambodia or Bolivia, some of the places I work, and you see corruption where people expect it, it's part of their life, you cannot change it by changing the rules and telling them, we're going to be different now. They don't believe you. That's what you say. They don't believe you. And the only way you can show them you're serious is if a few big fish are fried.